From ABC News headquarters, this is World News.
Finally tonight, an economic success story that is, more importantly, a human success story. A recent study found that the unemployment rate for Americans with disabilities is 44%. There are laws against discrimination, but many employers still question whether disabled people can really do the job. Betsy Stark found one company with some answers.
At first glance, this Walgreens Distribution Center in Anderson, South Carolina seems ordinary enough. But look a little closer.
I'll tell you what, I love this job.
And it is anything but.
I have been happy with it. I'm contented. And I've got people all around me that's just the best friends I've ever had in the whole world.
What's special about this place is that Julia Turner and more than 40% of her 700 co-workers are disabled. Julia has Down syndrome. In this building, able and disabled workers do many of the same jobs and earn the same pay.
Corporate America thinks they need to give somebody with a disability an easier job. Everyone here is on equal ground.
Can you please take care of that for me? Yes,
In this building, people with disabilities
How you doing, man?
are not invisible.
Can you see somebody with a disability? Everybody avoids that person. Hey, then we come up and shake your hand. It's totally different.
The quiet revolution happening in Anderson is the brainchild of Walgreens executive Randy Lewis.
Everything okay?
Lewis has a 19-year-old son with autism.
I was a parent. I saw the future. And so the question is, that's a great given our position, maybe we could be an example, maybe we could use our position of leadership to try to change the work environment.
We are so excited that you folks took the time out to be here today for this launch lunch for Foothills Can, and it does stand for Collaborative Action Network. Our mission is to make our communities a better place to live, work, and play for individuals with all levels of disabilities. We asked the folks at one of our meetings, each county, please identify 3 areas that you see that we need help with our special friends. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, all 3 counties said exactly the same thing. Jobs, transportation, and awareness. We get them a job, how do we get them there? And then the awareness, and that's where we want to come into, is making people aware of. So I could go on and on about Foothills Can, but we're here today for a main reason of hearing our buddy Randy Lewis tell us about what he did to pull this whole concept together with the Walgreens Distribution Center.
Probably about 2012, and we were looking for a site to build a brand new distribution center, something that would be like no other one built anywhere in the world. It says I have a son who's 19. That shows you how long ago this was made. He's 30 years old, and he has autism. That's where I kind of found out about disabilities. I didn't know anything about disabilities. That's our first 175 hires. From the very beginning, we wanted to be 1/3 of the workforce to be people with disabilities. 1/3. Same jobs, same pay, same performance standards, side by side, completely inclusive. And that's what it did, and now it's gone to 45%. If you go in that building, it's got all kinds of automation and all kinds of cool stuff that we did. We realized it wasn't about the automation. It was about the decision to do it, that it would work in buildings that weren't automated. So we opened up a center down there across the border in Georgia. No automation. 30% of their workforce has a disability. And we spread it across all the centers. And the managers themselves, once they saw Anderson, they said, we want to do it too. And so by 2010, it was 10% of our entire workforce. Now here comes the cost-benefit study. Walgreens makes 3 cents on the dollar. So we have to compete. We are not doing this thing. It's not sustainable if we're doing it for charity. It has to pay off. This is what it's going to look like in 2020. 20% of the entire workforce. And so we said if our objective, we're going to be consistent on objective, and that's to fully employ people with disabilities, and we're going to be flexible on means. Consistent in objective, flexible on means. So if we can accommodate it or adjust to it, let's go with that. We knew that when they were ready to build this building in Anderson. It was going to be all new technology, automation, all new systems and everything else. And people would say, well, what if it doesn't work? We say, well, if it doesn't work, we'll adjust. Because we didn't know anything about disabilities. The standard was, let's give it our best shot. Here's the standard. We want to sleep well at night. Give it your best. If there's try to solve the problem, work around it. If you can't, bring it up and we'll see if we can do something about it at a higher level. Because here's the standard. If this doesn't work, we're going to tell the world nobody can do this because we could not. And guess what? They made it work better than we ever thought. Now, one thing we did know, the people with disabilities couldn't just come through our door and how we typically do, teach them to interview well. If you give them a chance to demonstrate their abilities, it's about doing the job. It's not having a great resume, because these folks didn't have the experience. They'd never get through. What did we do differently? So what we decided to do is we're going to say we're going to hire 1/3, and we're going to have so many per month. We got to Anderson, South Carolina, because everywhere else we went, well, first of all, they didn't have a Best Buy. But you had a community that wanted to make this happen, because this was the farthest place we could go. We could go as far as Chattanooga, but just over the border, we hit this place. It was the last one we had looked at for all the towns between here and Atlanta. It was that kind of commitment is why we ended up here over all the other towns that we looked at, and we looked at a lot. So here's what we said. Here's the schedule. We're going to find an agency in here that has to understand our jobs, not our job descriptions. Nobody's job description matches up. Understands our jobs, and we want them to go out in the community, find people with disabilities, and pre-screen them. We're not going to worry about their job history because they probably don't have any. And we're not going to worry about an interview because they're not any good at it. But think we'll be successful, and what we want you to do is bring them in. We want you to provide the job coaches. We're going to call this transitional work group. We're going to supervise it, and we're going to do actual work. 9 weeks, we're going to pay them, working for us, doing real work. And once they have demonstrated performance at the end of that 9 weeks, they become our employee. So it's not just work in this group, and if there's an opening for you the day you start. And we expect you to be successful. And we're very vested because it's not just being managed by somebody else. So that's how the program worked. Now, obviously, it turned out well because we're increasing the numbers, but we studied them. People with disabilities perform the same or better. We studied 400,000 hours of work. Better retention, 20% better retention. Less absenteeism, lower cost of workman's comp, and better reporting of accidents. So all those little things, those little hazards that nobody reports because it was such a little deal and they keep going on for years in our centers, a nick here, a nick there, they'll report them. Why? They work safer. Why is that? It's an incredible thing. We studied that. Why are people with disabilities work safer? They follow the rules. This is a group that complies. This is our technology to make us successful. It's called ATP, Ask the Person. How would a deaf person test their horn, which is a procedure every morning? Make sure your horn works. How would you test that? Can't hear. So you ask. Went to a Lyft driver and said, how would you test your horn? First person says, we have a little cowling here. It says, I would hit the button and feel the vibration. Makes sense. Ask another person, deaf person, how would you test the horn? Well, I would drive up behind a group of people just talking. Ask the person. It works. And every other company that has done this finds the same thing happening. We've got to really look at the situation and treat each person as an individual. Things that if we were dreaming of the ideal workplace, wouldn't we want to be in a place like that? That's what we found. But one of the things that gave this power is we said, when we do this, we're going to give it away. So Anderson has hosted hundreds of companies have come through, and we give it all away. Everything that we've learned, we give away. There is no reason Tri-County cannot be the center of the world for disability employment. You have all the things in place, you have all the people, and you have the darn spirit to make this thing be the model. And there's nobody I would rather help in the whole world than this community, because they saved us. Thank you.